4 days that were supposed to be full of memories turned into a nightmare. What really happened in Tokyo? Jungkook's camera broke, and now he's back in Korea with a look we've never seen before. Who broke it? Why is HYB silent? And what does the lens actually record? 4 days in Tokyo changed everything for Jungkook. What did the cameras reveal? Who would have thought that a 4-day trip to Tokyo that seemed like a moment of calm for Jungkook would turn into a source of deep wounds? And now, after returning to Korea, his face is no longer the same man's face.
It's not just fatigue.
It's not just jet lag. This is an expression of loss, grief, and maybe even anger that he can't express directly. But what really happened in Tokyo? And why is just one thing, yes, just one broken camera, enough to change everything? The question is no longer just about what is captured on that camera, but who doesn't want us to see it? 4 days. Just 4 days. But everything changed. As Jungkook uploaded small footage from his trip to Tokyo, ARMY smiled at a solitary figure in the deserted streets of Shibuya, sipped coffee from a midnight vending machine, and sat quietly staring at the Sumida River in a black hoodie that almost swallowed his entire body. But now, none of us are smiling. Because that day, as he got off the plane at Gimpo Airport, the smile had disappeared.
No greeting. No waps.
Just a blank stare and one small, tightly clutched bag, as if storing something more important than his own life. Oh, you know what's in that bag. One camera. Mirrorless Sony FX3. The same camera he always carries with him on every personal journey. A camera that bears silent witness to thousands of secret moments that are never made public. But this time, the camera was off. Broken. Can't turn on. Even the memory is unreadable. And what is more surprising? The camera looks deliberately damaged. Why? Why did HYB suddenly issue a brief, technical incident statement just hours after the ARMY had viralized speculation about Jungkook's sad expression? Why was HYB's security staff suddenly seen breaking into Jungkook's private room at the headquarters the day after he returned? And why did Jungkook, who is usually quick to share messages to appease the ARMY, choose not to say anything this time? What exactly did he record in Tokyo? We are talking about a man who is known for not easily losing control. But this time, something is clearly very different. ARMY observantly noted that in a short live that was deleted just 2 minutes after it aired, Jungkook muttered, "I just want to keep it to myself, but now it's all gone." A sentence that sounded faint, almost like a sigh of despair. The question is, what does he keep? Why does he feel he has to keep it, Dan? Who wouldn't want that to remain? Some speculate that in Tokyo, Jungkook is not alone. There were names whispered among the ARMY with caution, such as the figure of V, who was reportedly in Osaka at the time. There are also rumors of a secret meeting with someone from the past that has never been officially mentioned. But more than speculation about who appears in the footage, the main focus now is, why was the camera broken? Some soldiers familiar with the technical world of cameras said that such damage, namely charred internal memory boards and SD slots that appear to be gouged, could not have happened just because of a fall. It wasn't an accident. It was sabotage. And if it was sabotage, who was close enough to Jungkook, reckless enough, and resourceful enough to destroy what was captured on it? Maybe HYB. Could it be that the company that has shaped Jungkook since his teens, which polished him into a global icon, is now a stumbling block to his personal moments? We know how hard HYB controls the image of BTS members. We know about secret agreements, NDAs, and strict internal censorship. But this time, if it was HYB who erased those memories, then it was no longer about control. It's about betrayal, and the most painful betrayals are those that come from one's own family. When the camera was damaged, not just one file was lost. Maybe there's footage of something very personal, maybe something Jungkook isn't ready to share with the world, or precisely something that the world should see, but is stopped by a stronger hand. A HYB staffer who did not want to be named mentioned in leaked private messages that Jungkook is devastated. The camera is part of him. A short statement, but enough to describe how deep this wound is. Have you ever seen Jungkook so quiet? So cold? I see. Destroyed. The ARMY's reaction flooded social media with the hashtags #ProtectJungkook and #WhatWasInTheCamera. Not a few asked HYB to explain openly what really happened. But until today, there was no press conference. There is no official clarification, just silence. And in that silence, there was boiling anger. There is also one other surprising fact that may have been missed. A few days after Jungkook returned to Korea, the personal account of his cameraman who used to accompany him on personal projects suddenly disappeared from social media. Inactive. Can't be reached. Is this a coincidence? Or part of a bigger puzzle? And are you aware that this isn't the first time Jungkook's personal belongings have been mysteriously lost or damaged? Last year, a personal laptop reportedly malfunctioned just weeks before he was due to start filming a solo documentary abroad. At that time, the news sank amid the joyful news of the comeback. But if this pattern repeats itself, then we must ask harder. What is HYB hiding? Why every time Jungkook tries to show a deeper, more honest, and more fragile part of himself, there's always an invisible hand obscuring it. Now the army no longer just demands answers. They demand justice. Because the camera, which is probably just a piece of equipment for the world, is a window for us to see Jungkook's inner world that has been hidden behind the stage spotlight and the light of the spotlight. And when that window is destroyed, we all lose something more than a video filed. We've lost faith. And now, only one question remains, the one that hangs in the air like the morning fog in Tokyo that Jungkook watched for 4 days. What exactly was captured by the camera, and who is afraid of the world seeing it? Jungkook's first day in Tokyo was captured by several fan sites at a safe distance. He was seen wearing a black hoodie and a large mask, walking alone through the Shinjuku Gyoen area around 10 a.m. No manager. Nobody got it. Only a man and his camera. A camera that is now a source of unsolved mysteries. Many initially thought this was a healing moment. After months of rehearsals, performances, and global projects, anyone needs room to breathe. But one small detail turned all the guesswork upside down. That camera, which Jungkook usually uses only for photographs, that day lit up in continuous recording mode for hours on end. He wasn't photographing flowers. He was recording something or someone. And when the army tried to analyze Jungkook's point of view from the fan site results, they realized something unusual. He kept looking at his left side, occasionally speaking slowly, but there was no one beside him. Is he talking to someone outside the frame? Or was delivering something to the camera that only he knew the meaning of? Some army refer to this as a personal documentation session. Yet one question haunts us all. Documentation for what? And why the effect is so heavy. The second day, an unrecorded meeting the second day, became the peak of speculation. Several Japanese soldiers claimed to have seen Jungkook enter the lounge area of a luxury hotel in Ginza, but not out the main door. There was even testimony from one of the hotel's employees, whose identity was withheld, that Jungkook was not alone at check-in, but it is not known who was with him as the process was conducted privately. Could someone accompany him in Tokyo? A friend? Another BTS member secretly? Or someone from the past? And if there was someone else, did that person appear in the camera footage? That same day, he disappeared from radar for almost 8 hours. No fan could find it. No uploads, no live, no updates at all. The camera is still in his hands. It became known from the last photo that the fan site posted, before everything just disappeared. Day 3, fake smile and eyes that can't lie. Jungkook reappears in the afternoon, sitting alone in a small cafe located on the edge of the Sumida Canal. He stared blankly at the water for over an hour. Some fans who saw him said that he tried to smile when he realized someone was filming him. But that smile, it didn't reach his eyes. It was at this point that the army began to feel that something was wrong. Jungkook is not someone who sinks into moods easily. In public, he is a light. But that day, he was a shadow. The camera is still with him. But this time, he kept it in a hoodie, pulled tight, protected as if life depended on it. And in the evening, at a different and than the previous 2 nights, the room lights were never on. The balcony door remained open overnight. And from a distance, one of the fans saw her sitting quietly in the dark, the camera on her lap. The 4th day, the camera was broken. But how? 4th day. Last day. Jungkook was seen leaving the inn with a quick step, a covered face, and one small bag that looked heavy. Not an ordinary camera bag. It was in the bag that the camera was stored. But strangely, he did not use public transport as in previous days. He boarded a black van that picked him up right in front of the hotel. The van whose some speculations say that the van is a HYB Japan operational vehicle. If true, then most likely Jungkook on that day met with representatives of the agency. But why did HYB pick him up secretly on the last day? And even more surprising, the CA. Less than a week after Jungkook returned to Korea with a broken camera in his hand, the mood of the fandom changed drastically. Not only because there was no further clarification from HYB, but because one figure came up with a move that was too timely to be called a coincidence. Jimin, he suddenly appeared on Weverse Live without notice. Her hair was still wet, her face without makeup, her eyes were swollen. He smiled, but his voice almost trembled as he said, "I think there are things I can no longer keep quiet about." It was like a thunderstorm in the dead of night. What does that mean? Jimin didn't name anyone, but he started talking about memories that should be private, about things that should be kept, but instead taken. And in the middle of that broadcast, something happened. The signal was suddenly cut off. Weverse instantly darkened. The live broadcast, which is usually saved for reviewing, never appears again on the server. Some of the army who managed to record the clip only had time to capture the last 15 seconds, when Jimin seemed to look straight into the camera and said, "Don't let them erase what's important. You know how." The phrase became the center of global discussion.
Who are they?
And what does delete the important mean? Does this have anything to do with Jungkook's camera? And more importantly, why does Jimin seem to know what happened to him? Crazy theories that no longer sound crazy army is starting to put together the puzzle pieces of what happened over the past 2 weeks. Video fan site, Jimin's cryptic remarks, Jungkook's crying, and of course, broken camera. And out of all of that comes one theory that was initially considered crazy, but is now starting to sound plausible. The camera is not just a documentation tool. The camera is not for vlogs. The camera recording recognition did a confession too heavy for Jungkook to keep to himself. Allegedly, for 4 days in Tokyo, Jungkook conducted a kind of video diary session during which he opened his heart to the pressures, manipulations of the industry, and his personal relationships that had been hidden from the public. One theory is that the confession included the name of a person who should not be named, either because of contractual clauses or because the impact could destroy the stability of the agency. Some fans mentioned one name in a whisper, Taeil, a silence relationship, or a distorted truth. Jungkook and Taeil have always had an inexplicable bond. They are too close to be called just friends, but too professional to be called a couple. But since the beginning of 2025, something changed. They don't play together often anymore. They sat far apart in the interview. Even during the last comeback, they barely spoke to each other, and when asked, they always answered with a too quick smile. Now, it's been suggested that the footage was Jungkook's candid talk about his relationship with Taeil and how they were separated by someone much more powerful than the two of them. In one of the fan decoding projects that went viral on Twitter, ARMY found word patterns in Jungkook's post 3 weeks before he went to Tokyo. Words that look mundane like time, loss, one step, when combined form acronyms. WKS, we knew something. Was it a veiled message that they, Jungkook and someone else, had devised a plan before everything happened? Was that camera a backup of reality, which has now been destroyed? Jimin, the only key left after his mysterious disappearance live, Jimin did not appear in the media at all. He was even absent from the previously confirmed radio schedule. Internal sources said he was taking personal leave due to emotional exhaustion. But fans don't believe it completely. Jimin is not the type to run away from responsibility. Moreover, he once said in 2023, "If something happens to someone I love, I will talk. Even if that means have to fight everything." Those words went viral. Jimin is known as the guardian of the group's secrets. But this time, his facial expression, the intonation of his voice in the last live, and his way of saying, "You know how," as if giving a message to the army, that he could not speak openly. But he wants us to know, and some of the army started combing through Jimin's old content and found one suspicious thing. In one of the old vlogs, there was a frame where Jimin was looking at Jungkook's camera and said, "If one day this is gone, you know where to look." Just a glance. Just 1 second. but it is enough to make one sentence a riddle that opens the door to mystery. Has the camera ever been